Welcome, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast pregame edition. It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst, and we have a action-packed show for everyone today. We're going to go over what's been going on in the game tonight with the Oilers versus the Panthers. And this is a big game for... I would say it's a bigger game for the Oilers than it is for the Panthers right now, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys.
Yeah.
Like, I would say this is absolutely huge.
If you're into the statistics, this game 4 is Edmonton's sort of game. I think Skinner's 6-0.
Yeah.
Yep.
Skinner
I think Leon and Connor scored the lights out in game 4s, no?
100%.
Also, too, you also got to look at it. I find Stuart Skinner, whenever he has an off night, he does seem to amp it up again. Now, I'm in the minority that isn't blaming Stuart Skinner for the Game 3 loss. I think when you only score one goal, and the way the Edmonton Oilers are built, you're probably going to lose a lot of those games, right? But at the end of the day, Stuart Skinner wasn't the solution. I think tonight he needs to be the solution. What do you boys think? Do you guys think Skinner needs to have a big night?
100%. I'm shocked he's even getting to start.
Why are you shocked, though? I don't understand this. That's like saying I am shocked Connor McDavid's still centering the top line. He should be the third defenseman.
Because Picard is 6-0. If they had a backup that played like 25 minutes, look at that as an example. It made no sense to me pulling Oscar and putting in Casey DeSmith and played 20 minutes. That didn't make no sense. But Picard has gone 6-0. Why
yeah,
not?
I think Stuart
he only allowed one goal when I didn't allow any goals facing Florida.
Yeah, he did allow one goal in the Florida game.
Sorry, one goal. I'm like 15 shots, right? So why not try something up? You're changing your forwards, you're changing defense. May as well change goaltending too.
I think it's more because you're sending the wrong message by not going to Stuart Skinner. You're sending a message to your
everyone knows Stuart Skinner's not a Vezina caliber winning goalie.
You're telling me Calvin Pickard should have won the Vezina over Connor Hellebuck?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, let's say you pulled when you pulled Jake Ottinger in Dallas. That made no sense. He was your number one guy forever. He backup played 20 minutes before that. And Ottinger is arguably a Vezina winning goalie. So by pulling him, you're sending a team to one message saying
you get fired. That's what happens. You get fired.
Yeah, literally, right? It was just a stupid decision. Versus Skinner, Skinner's been up and down his whole career. And the other goalie's 6-0.
Even at the end of the day, though, Skinner's taking you to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals.
Okay, so Stuart, here's what it says. Specialist in game 4s. Skinner has a perfect 6-0 record, 1.26 goals against average with a .955 save percentage. You're telling me you would put Skinner and those numbers on the bench in game 4. I may agree with you maybe for game 5 or such, and depending on what happens in the outcome of this game. Yes, you got to try something different, but I don't know. I think you got to put him back in. No question.
I didn't know those numbers of game 4. I know he was good in game 4s. I didn't think he was that good. That does kind of change my mind a little bit.
But no, you're right. I think Pickard, he's undefeated in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think in the last couple years, these are Skinner's numbers in those critical game 4s, which tonight's the analyst said, I think there's more on Edmonton to get this game. Obviously, Florida wants the game, but there's a lot of pressure on Edmonton to get this because, I don't know, down 3-1.
If you're down 3-1, I said it on our pre-record today that I personally think if you're down 3-1, I get this Oilers as a team is a good team. Florida's not losing 3 straight again to the Edmonton Oilers. They did last year in the playoffs, and they're not doing it again. But although Lane Dashko is not with us, he is always with us. Not in heaven, but
he's not dead. Everything's good. There's no.
So Lane, of course, sent us in some awesome clips. And here's his early thoughts from earlier today about this game tonight.
What's going on, Streakers Island podcast? It's your boy, Dashing Lane Dashko. We are on the precipice of Game 4 between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Now, I won't be there live on the pregame, so I'm sending in my thoughts a little bit ahead of time. And to be honest, I think the Florida Panthers are going to win tonight and take a stranglehold in this series. We saw, I'm going to keep saying it, and I'll stick to it. We saw in Game 2 what happened when the Edmonton Oilers kind of felt defeated and came out in Game 3 and actually really felt defeated. And I think the Florida Panthers are a great team at being a physical team, getting inside your mind and kind of making you do dumb things. And I think they're going to continue that trend tonight. And I actually have a big prediction here on the island. I think they're going to win by 3 goals or more. I think it's going to be another dominant game from the Florida Panthers. But if I'm wrong, challenge me on the Streakers app. We'll see you live for the post game.
I see Shades wants to send a challenge here.
Yeah, Edmonton better. I'm with Shades.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, they have to win if you're the. I think this is a do or die game for the Oilers, but I don't think Lane's out to lunch of his take on this either, though, right?
You're thinking of dominance?
I don't think they're going to. Well,
3 goals, like
holy boy.
Win by more than 3 goals.
I can't say he's out to lunch. I just don't agree with him. I really
but
don't.
could you not see Edmonton losing 3-0 with Bobrovsky getting a shutout, Edmonton pulling the goalie and letting in 2 empty netters? But I do agree with Shades here, though. Edmonton has to win.
Yeah.
I gotta say something about Mr. Dasko, though. I gotta give him a true 100. I think it's incredible. In Southern Ontario down here, it's easily plus 30 today, and he's wearing a hoodie, bro. Sweatshirt
nice
hoodie. I give him a lot of respect for that, whipping the Blue Jays and with a hoodie in this heat. Wow, give that guy a medal.
Maybe he doesn't believe in heat.
Oh, maybe.
He doesn't believe heat exists. But
I don't. He's so hot himself, right?
Yeah, but no. But what I mean though, with like the 3-goal win take, let's say Edmonton is down 1-0 with 2 minutes left in the third. They pull their goalie. Florida gets 2 empty netters. I could see that happening.
You think Skinner's only going to allow 1 goal?
I think Skinner's going to. I think this will be a goaltending battle. Paul Maurice already called it, saying he thinks there will be a lot less penalties being called.
True.
Yeah.
Which actually, I think if this game stays 5-on-5, I think that's more of an advantage for Edmonton because 5-on-5, these teams have been relatively even. It's just been the special teams that Edmonton's been getting slaughtered.
This is surprising.
Yeah, Edmonton's got to reel in their emotions here and do what they've done the first 3 series.
Yeah.
Now, are you seeing
the LA series?
What's that?
You think it's a little bit of a reminder of the LA series? Like in Dallas and Winnipeg, Edmonton pretty much dominated the whole time, but in Los Angeles, they did have their moments.
Like if this one's tight and they feel they can steal this game and you carry that momentum back to Edmonton for 5, then
yeah.
Well, never mind steal. You have to win this game because you lost 1 game at home. You have to win
by steal is a late game or something like, or an overtime win.
I could see this game going overtime.
Yeah, I can see it too.
Now, do you feel these Oiler injuries or like at Nugent Hopkins at 70%? Imagine you had a Hyman or like, do you feel these are adding up or
a little?
Well,
bit, yeah,
a little bit, but. And you look at the lines tonight from Daily Faceoff, we're seeing some changes, and I think these changes are to try to bring in some scoring. You're seeing Jeff Skinner back into the lineup.
I don't agree with benching Arvidsson.
Like that.
I agree with benching Arvidsson 100%.
He's had his moments. He's one of the few guys that got a goal against Bobrovsky in Game 1.
I like the Kapanen with Draisaitl.
I love
you throw Brown in with a Hopkins McDavid. These guys are gonna shoot.
Exactly, right? And you're bringing a guy like Jeff. Dan, the problem is, though, you look at Arvidsson, you look at Podkolzin. They kind of do the same thing, but Podkolzin's bigger and faster and stronger. Edmonton
Arvidsson's a much better shot, though.
But that's not what you need from your 4th line.
Actually, I hate to say it because I love the guy, but I would almost bench Trent Frederick.
No. Not a guy that can play wing or center. You can take faceoffs. You need that.
He is a valuable dude. Don't I get that?
You surprised with Perry down on 4?
No, not at all. I think Corey Perry,
because you need him for the special teams, and you need him if you're down a goal in the third period. You need him to play the last 5 minutes of the game, right? So basically, I just think that's just ice management. I think he'll kind of alternate between Perry and Connor Brown. and I think it's actually very smart. I think you'll see Connor Brown more on the 5-on-5 play against the big guns of Florida.
Yeah.
And Perry be more ice management. Fire for puck, boys. Yeah, I agree with Trevor.
I agree with you,
Definitely.
Shades, and I think that's where you look at this lineup. I think this is a lineup that's going to be a bit more shoot first, especially, you know what, elevating Connor Brown to the top line with speed. You're bringing in a guy like Jeff Skinner, who does have 2 points in 2 games, so he has an offensive touch.
He does.
Corey
sure.
Perry being added to the fourth line just adds a little more skill to that fourth line, and he'll have more gas when he's out on the power play. So I like these changes for the Oilers quite a bit, and I'm not sure if there's any defensive changes, but let's take a look. Well, Dan says there is.
Well, there is, yeah.
Yeah, you
Yes,
took
so
We have your boy in there, analyst, the Stetcher.
Troy Stetcher comes in. Actually, I like these pairings a lot because you got Ekholm and Wallman is just a pure shutdown pair. Kulak and Bouchard, in theory, that should be a decent pairing. And Nurse and Stetcher played really well together in the previous rounds.
I would bench Kulak and put in Klingberg there.
Really?
No.
I would, yeah.
No sense. Why?
I like Klingberg these playoffs. I really do.
I like him too. He's been terrible this series. I don't care what he did in the last round. I care what he's doing in this round. In this round, he's been garbage.
Yeah, true.
So I think if you're the Oilers, you know, you're seeing there's some changes. Now, apparently I'm just clicked on Troy Stetcher by accident. He has very nice numbers. Very nice guy. But the power play is what I'm curious about too. Do we see major changes in the power play unit with changes in the forward play?
Corey Perry on number one. Yep, very
So
good.
Corey Perry still on your top power play unit, which makes sense. However, I'm also a little surprised to see 4 forwards and 1 D when the only power play looked at worked last game was 3 forwards and 2 D.
Yeah.
I almost would have preferred seeing McDavid, Draisaitl, Perry, and put Nugent Hopkins down on the second group.
Oh, I see they put Skinner on the second unit.
Yes.
Well, we may not see much of this power play tonight anyway.
But the second unit we're looking here, I think Jeff Skinner can add some offense to that second power play unit, a shoot-first mentality guy. As Dan likes to point out a lot, he was a 40-goal scorer not that long ago in his career.
Well, that's the thing. You look at the power play, that's where you really miss Zach Hyman.
Yeah.
You got to keep missing him. He's not playing, right?
Well, I get that. I'm just saying.
But I do think these are moves that I like the line changes. What do you boys think? Do you guys like the line changes, or do you think he's hitting the panic button?
No, I think if he's going to rotate potentially Brown and Perry on that top line, and depending on, like we said, how many penalties they get tonight, like you got to do something.
Well, that's my
the
outlook. I think
injuries you
something
got.
had to change, and I think game 4, after the way they lost game 3, this was the time to make the change.
Yeah, but you think Jeff Skinner's going to be a magical answer? I don't know.
But what else? What else is your option?
I don't know. I think instead of changing the lines, I think you just instead of changing who's playing, maybe change the lineup a bit. But
So you're telling me though you think that Arvidsson's a better goal scorer than Jeff Skinner?
no, but
You don't need the physicality. Playing the physical
year than Jeff Skinner is.
Yeah, but playing the physicality game clearly does not work against Florida because I don't think you can out-rat this rat of a team.
No.
I don't think the Oilers can, right?
No.
So, like when I think about keys to victory, which we'll get to Lane's keys to victory a little bit because he did send in another clip about his keys, not like his car keys. I don't even have my key fob on me right now. I can't show it to you. But I think the big thing for Edmonton is they need to just go back to playing their style of hockey, and I think that's why you bring in a guy like Jeff Skinner and Troy Stetcher, because they're two players that are more their style, right? Like Troy Stetcher is a defenseman he's actually got pretty good speed, right? So he can jump into that rush every now and then, and he had success with Darnell Nurse. Jeff Skinner is a player that likes to shoot, and he can score, and he is dying to make an impact in these playoffs.
I think Skinner's going to have a big game tonight.
I think both Skinners could have a big game tonight. Skinner square. Skinner square. So, but as we all know, though, Stuart Skinner is starting tonight. I know Chazzy and I think that's the right call. Dan thinks it's the wrong call. So, if you're Knobloch, which is coaches for the Edmonton Oilers, how long of a leash are you giving Skinner, though? If it's okay, Dan, I'm not going to make a comment on that. Dan wants to have a very tiny leash. Lane, you're not Lane. Chazzy, I don't know if you're leaning more towards me, but I'm thinking if it's 2-0 early and I don't love at least one of the goals, I might put Pickard in, but I still think starting Skinner tonight's the right call.
Yeah, we definitely cannot let a goal in within the first minute again. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You got to start. I think his leash is as long as they're like, if we're seeing a 3-3, 4-4, 4-3, like you got to stick with them. If they get up 3-0 early, then yeah, you got to yank them. But I don't know. I think Stuart Skinner is going to surprise them all and hold them in there and steal tonight.
Well, as you pointed out, Craig, Stuart Skinner in Game 4 is very good. Usually,
Yeah,
and when you actually go back and look at his statistics after a bad game, he usually plays a very good game.
He does.
But I don't think I let this game get out of hand the way the last one did before they put in Calvin Pickard. I think if it's 2-0 and I didn't like at least one of the goals, I'm probably putting in Pickard. And I know people might say, "Well, Jacob, you're a self-proclaimed sports analyst, and you're going against what you said again about Jake Ottinger." The difference was Jake Ottinger, and he let in 2 quick goals. I felt neither goal was his fault, and he's arguably the best goalie in the NHL. No one is arguing that Stuart Skinner's a Vezina goalie. People won't be arguing that Stuart Skinner is Edmonton's best chance when he's on, but if he doesn't look on to start the game, this is why I still kind of wish for Edmonton's sake they went out and picked up like a James Reimer or something, just as a little bit of insurance.
I'm just going to say something crazy here, because why not?
Say something.
Instead of worrying about what goalies in Edmonton, let's worry about what goalies in Florida. Why does Edmonton send out Fletcher and just beat on Bobrovsky?
Well, because if Edmonton does it, they're not as good as Sam Bennett at it, and they're going to take penalties. Like, let's just be honest here.
True.
Now,
Yeah, I think Edmonton's just got to stay out of the box tonight.
Yeah.
And they got to read the way that these refs are going to call the game. So
that's true.
Early.
That's important.
Yeah.
Like
it kind of went away. So, and that's one thing. Maybe, too, if you're Edmonton, if there are penalties early, you just got to capitalize.
Right?
Like,
too.
They have not been capitalizing.
Well, they're going to come out with a lot of energy. They're going to come out just...
Well, I think they're either come out with a lot of energy or they're going to come out completely flat. I think we're
in trouble if they come out flat.
Oh,
After 3 days, we're in trouble.
Well, I know, but look at OKC versus the Chazzy is frozen. Chazzy is frozen in shock on his video. But we still
I know, I can see that. Well, we can still hear him, so it's okay.
Your camera's frozen, but that's okay. We can still for anyone who wants to see how beautiful he looks frozen. Now he's just gone, but he's still frozen. But that's okay.
You can hear me.
We can hear you.
So you're good.
But look at the OKC. They came.
What's that song from Frozen? Let it go, let it go.
That was depressing. But look at OKC though, right? They came out completely flat after having a 3 days rest.
That's right.
So I'm not saying the Oilers will do it, but I'm also not necessarily going to say that they won't. I think they're either going to come out firing or come out terrible. I think it's one or the other.
There's a big difference, though, with OKC. They won the game previous. Oh, now Chazzy's back.
Chazzy! Hi, Craig! Hi, Craig! Hi, Craig!
Hi. They won the game previously, right? Versus Edmonton did not win the game previously. So they definitely lost that game. So I think Edmonton's not going to come out flat. This Florida team is phenomenal, but so are the Oilers. They're phenomenal too. I would say arguably Edmonton had a tougher role to get to here than Florida did.
Yeah.
Like LA, we all thought LA had a good chance to win a cup. We all thought Dallas was going to win a cup of, like Craig says, Michael Jordan on skates. And I predicted Winnipeg could have won the cup. They look at Florida, right? We all know Captain Underpants was going to choke up. We all know that Tampa was kind of old. Well, Tampa was a good team. And Carolina was terrible. So I think Edmonton had a tougher role to get here.
But I don't know if you guys saw the argument between PK Subban and
I did see that. You sent it to us.
So this is from TNT's show, and I just want to play a clip from it, so we shouldn't get claimed. We'll find out right after this break. I just want to listen to this clip here, and let me put sound on so you can actually listen to it.
It's easy to point the finger at the superstars. They got to show up, and they got to show up on the game sheet. But last night for me, Stephen A., it wasn't just about Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl not showing up on the score sheet and not dominating the game. The whole Edmonton Oilers team didn't show up. They didn't show up on time, and Florida dominated them in every single facet of the
I agree
game.
with Physically, to a point here,
on all the faceoffs,
I want you guys to really pay attention to what Stephen A.
up and down.
Says, right?
Listen,
that's where I
Edmonton wasted 40 minutes in this game. They were down 4-1. That's one thing, but they wasted the rest of the time doing all this extracurricular activity, and the Panthers laughed them into a 4-6-1 victory and a 2-1 lead. So Edmonton's got to regroup.
What you're saying. First of all, Edmonton got blown out. We understand they got romped. We get that part. Connor McDavid, 13 shots, no goals, 0, nothing in the Stanley Cup. And oh, by the way, this is a 3-time league MVP. No championship, maybe the greatest that has never won. These are the kind of things you were talking about him from last year.
Okay.
So here we are again, same opponent, same situation, same problem.
Okay.
I just found that really interesting, boys, because everyone was kind of looking at me like I'm a little crazy when I'm saying, hey, I don't know if I'm getting enough out of Connor McDavid. Chazzy is frozen in terror again. I normally whenever I watch anything from TNT, I'm on PK Subban's side over Stephen A. Smith, and now Chazzy's back looking sexy as ever. But I am actually on the side of Stephen A. Smith here. I think Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have to be better. I don't think you're getting enough out of them.
Here's $1 million question.
How
many people are going to Stephen A. Smith for hockey analysis?
What's your point? Someone can be
My
right.
point is he's a basketball guy, bro.
Okay, but can you imagine if in the finals LeBron James put up 0 points and a couple assists and everyone went on it wasn't his fault?
Well, yeah.
It'd be absolutely his fault. We give way too much.
Does he not?
We give too much slack to McDavid and Draisaitl versus Matthews and Nylander, or I even say or a guy like Sebastian Aho in Carolina, or Mikko Rantanen in Dallas, or Jake Ottinger in Dallas. If these are other markets, for some reason in Canada, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl can do no wrong. You guys can laugh at me all you want. They're not even plus players in this series, right? And sure, they're putting up points. They're putting up points, but it's basically like putting your clothes in the wash and then throwing them in a pile of mud. That's basically what they're doing, because every time they score, they're getting scored on later in the game, the same line. So it's kind of canceling each other out.
Well, I think it's because we get to the finals. You look at Captain Underpants.
Who cares? Who cares?
They don't make it to the finals.
So Edmonton fans get heartbroken in June instead of a month and a half ago.
I know. I'm just saying. I think that's why we get a little more slack.
No, but I don't even mean slack from the fan base. I just mean slack from everyone. Draisaitl may go back-to-back Stanley Cup finals with hardly scoring.
True.
He didn't have any goals last year in the Cup finals. Everyone said he was hurt. Well, apparently he's not hurt now. And I think if he was, he would just flat out tell the media, because that's just the way his personality is. And I don't know. It's one of those things. You look at Florida and their top guys, even if they're not scoring, they're finding ways to contribute. Like I can't stand Matthew Tkachuk, but he can't score right now, but he's contributing by making Edmonton take a bunch of stupid penalties. Right. And you look at Sam Bennett, he's normally a role player. He's your leading goal scorer. You look at
the whole NHL.
What's he got now? 14 goals?
14 goals. And put it in perspective, when Ovi won the Cup in 2008, he had 15. So we're seeing like record-breaking numbers from a fourth liner a couple years ago in Calgary. And he had a career year this year with 51 points.
How much of a genius move are you making that Marchand move at the trade deadline? There's 4 goals this Stanley Cup final.
Oh my gosh, Marchand. Wow. What a trade that was.
Okay, so there's another point then, if you actually really want to think about it. Brad Marchand has more goals this series than McDavid and Draisaitl combined.
That's scary.
He has more goals than McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins combined.
That's a problem.
Like, seriously, that's an issue because Florida is built around a 4-line offensive system, right? I think we would all agree to that.
I would say
Edmonton-
3, but fourth line don't really do anything.
Their fourth line has
they're
that
real.
fourth line won the series against Toronto. I'm going to say
They'll
that right now.
grind you down.
They will grind you to the point that you would think you're a marijuana leaf. You've been grinded so much. And you're looking at, like, for example, Connor McDavid in this series is a -1, right?
Yeah.
And I actually really believe in the plus-minus system a lot more than other players do, especially for forwards.
For sure, yeah.
And so Connor McDavid's a -1, 5 points in 3 games. So you think about it, Brad Marchand in this series might actually have more points than Connor McDavid. Yet the majority of people are not calling Connor McDavid out. Like, sure, we can call it Evander Kane all we want. I agree Evander Kane needs to be better. I would probably say 95% of Edmonton's roster has to be better. Leon Draisaitl
like the boys said there, I don't think they even showed up.
Who didn't show up, sorry?
Edmonton in game 3, they just didn't even show.
No, they didn't.
really didn't.
But
I
also,
don't know why.
too, Chazzy is frozen in terror again. And Leon Draisaitl in this series is a -2.
Out.
That's a problem. And I think
you-
that's where it's killing you, right? I think you need better out of your top. It doesn't matter that Draisaitl has, he's got 4 points in 3 games. It's fine.
Mhm.
Oh, he's got 4 points in 3 games. Marchand has 4 goals. He's as a third liner. That is your biggest issue, I think, if you're Edmonton. Now, I want to look up Ryan Nugent Hopkins because he's been up and down. He's another one of your like kind of star players, right? And
do
Go ahead, Dan.
you think maybe it's reverse psychology a bit? Do you look at the Toronto media and the Toronto fans, how they beat up on the players and nothing gets done? So Edmonton's trying to do the reverse thing, like, oh, we're going to go easy on them and hopefully we'll just become better. You think
no,
that could be
I
a
think
part
it's
of it?
just Connor. For some reason, Connor McDavid is kind of an untouchable. I think it's stupid. I think any
Kind of like Wayne
player,
Gretzky, right?
not quite, because he certainly gets hit a lot on the ice. By the way, Ryan Nugent
No, but I
Hopkins,
mean, not
Ryan
just- I'm
Nugent
not
Hopkins is a -3. By the way,
I'm not talking about the hits,
so
but I mean,
your top line for Edmonton combined what, a -8?
yeah, that's pretty.
That's not acceptable. That doesn't matter. And also, too, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, now I know he's hurt, has 0 points. So those are your big 3 pieces in Edmonton, right? Those are the 3 pieces you could argue this team is built around. So you can go blame your goaltending and your defensive core and Victor Arvidsson all you want, but at the end of the day, I'm looking at the guys that make the big money, and you're not getting enough out of these core players. Where you look at Florida, they're certainly getting enough out of these players.
Oh, for sure.
Like-
Barkov is prime example. He might not be getting the points as someone like Bennett and Marchand, but when Barkov's on the ice, you know it.
So Brad Marchand is a +4 with 4 goals.
That's insane.
4 goals, 1 assist. So he's got 5 points in 3 games. So as many points as Connor McDavid. Getting a quick pop from Alex.
Here's Alex.
Go Oilers. Alex, I hope the Oilers
Go
win.
Oilers.
Go,
I
Oilers, go.
truly hope I am wrong when I'm going on my tangents here.
I hope so too.
But
You know,
it's just, we look, and it's just Brad Marchand, right? 5 points +4. So that means that of the 5 points he scored, he's only had 1 goal against him, right? And that's the over-unders I think you really got to look at. And Edmonton, you're just not seeing that. The reason why I said Brad Marchand, as much as he's a third liner, let's be honest, he's been one of your biggest players.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, he's
100%.
been right in there.
Now let's move on to Mr. Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett is a +2 with 4 goals in this series. So it means 2 goals against him out of the 4 he scored. So again, your over-unders are looking sharp, right? And that's where Florida, I think that's where Florida's been winning these games, is their guys who have been their bread and butter players are also not getting scored against a bunch. They're not getting lit up the way Edmonton is.
Right.
You know who I think is being undervalued is Barkov.
That's what
Some of the
said.
plays that he makes to set up goals, it's
Oh, it's unreal.
It's unreal. Like,
Amazing player.
Even
Just
Matthew
him
Kach-
on the corners against the boards is like unreal.
but even Matthew Kachuk, we would all agree he's had an underwhelming series. 2 points
Yes.
and 2 points and a +1, right? Yeah. So he's not. At least I feel the difference is the Edmonton players are hurting themselves as much as they're benefiting themselves. Where at least Florida, I don't think anyone's flat out losing them games, if that makes sense.
No.
Right? I think I would argue Edmonton beats themselves more than Florida beats Edmonton. I think when both teams are playing their game, I think Edmonton's the better team. I still do.
Yeah.
But
we saw it in game 1 and 2.
That's
because
right,
even game 2, you easily could have won that if playoff Bob didn't show up in the overtimes.
Yeah. And you look at it, I hate to say this as an Oilers fan, let's just be honest here. The 2 games that Florida lost.
Florida lost 1.
Sorry, the 1 game that Florida lost was in overtime. 1 game Edmonton lost in overtime as well. But then the other game definitely was nowhere near overtime. And that's your hiccup. And you think about game 3 out of a 7-game series, by the time we hit 30 minutes of this game, we're halfway through the series, right? So I think we can all arguably say Florida won the first half of the series. Edmonton just has to break it up in half. Like, okay, Florida won the first half. Now we go win the second half of the series to get the Stanley Cup.
Now, I want to quickly throw over to Lane Dashco, who, by the way, Dan, is still wearing his sweater. And he has some keys to victory. We've gone over some of the keys to victory for Edmonton, but he has keys to victory.
We're sitting so fitting about to see my skin blow, and I feel the cold. He's wearing a sweater. That's impressive.
Let's throw to Lane Dashco.
What's going on, Streakers Island Podcast? It's your boy Lane Dashco. Here are my 2 players from one player from each team that I think need to step it up in tonight's game. For the Edmonton Oilers, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. It's got to be a Vander Kane. Vander Kane, if you're going to be playing these mental, physical warfares, you got to stay more calm and composed. I don't know what happened to you there in Game 3. You got to got too emotional there. You can't let that happen. If you're going to be the person to be able to fight back and give your team a chance, you can still play those games, but you got to know when and where to play those mental warfare games. And for Florida, I'll just say Aaron Ekblad, he's been doing pretty good. I think he could do a little bit better. He takes a few too many penalties. At the end of the day, I don't think it'll really matter because, again, their PK is pretty strong. But if there's one player who could maybe stay out of the box who's had a lot of penalty trouble, it's Aaron Ekblad. Those are my 2 players to watch. We'll see what happens tonight. See you on the island, boys.
Well, at least now he's in air conditioning, hopefully.
He's on the move. He's absolutely on the move.
He is.
It's interesting, though. I find it very interesting, and I don't know if you guys agree, but it's interesting hearing different perspectives. I'm more calling out the superstars, right? And then you have Lane, who I would argue, okay, Barkov maybe, Ekblad maybe not, but Evander Kane, that's a role player, right?
For sure it is.
But where do you think this series is going to be where this game's going to be won and lost tonight? Do you think it's the top players that take over, or is it the role guys?
I think if Edmonton's going, I'm with you, Jacob. I think if Edmonton's going to win, it has to be the top guys that take over. We've been saying this as Maple Leaf fans forever. We've been playing Rantanen on the hot seat. We've put Ovi on the hot seat. We put, Aho in Carolina on the hot seat. I think it's time to put McDavid and Draisaitl on the hot seat. And let's face it, if they don't win the Stanley Cup, it's an absolute fail. But if Florida doesn't win the Stanley Cup, it's an absolute fail. So I think one of these 2 teams, whoever loses, I hate to say it, I think they're going to get blown up.
No. I think
Florida.
Definitely not Florida. You've been in the Stanley Cup 3 straight years, win 1 out of 3. I think you're happy in this league.
Yeah, maybe.
Florida, there could be some changes because there's been talks about to keep Bennett and Marchand, they're going to have to let Ekblad walk.
Right.
But in the finals next year, that happens. Right? They'll be back next year if they're able to keep a Marchand and a Bennett, and they're able to replace an Ekblad on the point. Mind you,
do you need to replace Ekblad though, or do you just elevate Seth Jones, who's found another level here in Florida?
He continues to play like he has here in the playoffs. Absolutely.
I don't know.
Like,
So-
is he still under contract, Steph Jones?
Oh
I
yeah, I
believe-
think he's
yeah.
still got a few more years. 8
Oh,
million.
okay. Yeah,
like
maybe
$8
just
million, but I mean, right now he's playing like an $8 million defenseman, right?
Yeah. No, he is. He's playing much
9.5,
better.
is he?
So I want to ask you guys, who's a player? I will go last here. So let's ask Chazzy before he freezes in terror again. Chazzy,
Yeah, I don't know what's going on
what
with that
players
camera.
are you watching tonight?
For the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid for sure. I think he's just got to. I guess he's got what, Brown or Perry. He's just got to shoot the puck, not wait that extra half second, and just shoot the puck. And because anytime he shoots, they always find the back of the net, and he obviously hasn't found it. And then on Florida's side, I'm just gonna say Marchand. If he continues to, it's either gonna be Marchand and the role players, or some of these role players like Rodriguez. I don't think he scored in a few games, but I think just that top line. But watch it for Marchand to continue.
So so you're taking a role player for the Panthers, a superstar for the Oilers.
And I say that because Edmonton, like you got to win this game.
Well, I think Edmonton too is more built around star power, where Florida is more built around. Funny, Brad Marchand's a role player, yet he's like leading the series in goal scoring. But Mr. Moore,
Well, we've also seen how much this means to the captain of the Edmonton Oilers and the way he reacted last year, and the selfishness, and it's all about the team, and like he's got this game on his shoulders for sure. Of like he's gonna move this mountain one way or another tonight with the boys. So,
now, Mr. Moore, for your money, are you seeing what Chazzy's seeing on those guys, or do you have some different players you're watching out for?
I'm going to go off the board here.
Off the board?
I'm going to go off the ice. I think it's the coaching that has to step up.
Okay.
That last game got very emotional, very quick, and Florida got very lucky. And Florida is fantastic at playing that game. But one day, that game is not going to work for them. And you don't want that game to be in the Stanley Cup Finals. And for Chris Nagablabla, whatever his name is, he has to do better at keeping his players like Kane calm, cooled, and collective. Yes, I get you got to send them messages. Yes, I get you got to stand up for your teammates. But you cannot take 13 penalties in a playoff game and expect to be close to a victory. There's no way. That's 26 penalty minutes if a 2-minute penalty. That's almost half the game short-handed there. Let's just put that out there, okay? You cannot win.
What?
Yeah. So I'm calling out the coaching.
Interesting here. I am also going to go off the board for Florida. And AJ Greer's back into the lineup tonight, right? So I think AJ Greer is going to have a big night. Dan, you called out Florida's fourth line not being very good. Watch for this fourth line to just have a couple dominating shifts that maybe are a momentum changer. Because I could see Edmonton having really good pushes, and watching out for that fourth line, and especially AJ Greer, who's a very physical player. When he came into that Toronto series, once he got going on that fourth line, and the same thing against Carolina, I think Florida has the toughest fourth line in the NHL.
One of them, yeah.
Edmonton Oilers. It's got to be Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl has to find a way. No goals in the last couple of games. He's got to find a way to score again. And in my opinion, Draisaitl scoring he's got either 9 or 10 goals in these playoffs. It's not terrible. But considering if he played all 82 games this year, he would have been on pace for closer to 60. His production has tailored off, right? And I don't know if maybe you need to, at times, load up that top line and put McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hopkins together, or McDavid, Draisaitl, and Perry. Because you're talking about Corey Perry and Connor Brown shifting on and off the top line. I could see Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Corey Perry shifting between off and top that top line, because Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a little banged up. So those are my players to watch, but I'm going to give one more guy, and I'm going to give a shout out to Stuart Skinner. I think Stuart Skinner is going to have a big game tonight, and so does Bobrovsky. We know Bobrovsky will either get playoff Bob or playoff Odd. So we're not sure which one we're going to get. Is he going to be still on the case when SportsCenter with Jay Onroy is on tonight? We're not sponsored by SportsCenter by Jay Onroy, but we could be. Or
I could be a new Dan O'Toole, Jay on, right? My name is Dan.
be your Dan O'Toole.
my name is Dan.
Even when the skies are blue. Anyways.
And I have less gray hair.
Now, as commented by Streakers Gaming, Who gets the Streakers point tonight, Streakers Island podcast? So let's go around again. I know we did this morning already, but maybe we've changed our minds with some of the line changes. I'm going to start off, and I'm not going to start off because I'm not quite sure yet. So
wow, you're teeter-tottering.
I'm teeter-tottering here a little bit because I like the line changes Edmonton made. I honestly thought they were going to run the same lineup, and they're not.
They should bring the teeter-totter back to the playgrounds. I haven't seen one.
Oh my, they were so much fun. The problem is then kids fall on them, then they get hurt, then they cry.
Oh, that's why they took them out.
Just like Dan.
It's definitely not as tough as what we were back in the day.
All right, tough guy. Who's winning this game?
Okay, who's drinking out of garden holes nowadays? I just want to put that out there. But anyway, I'm still sticking to my guns. I think the Oilers are going to figure it out. I mean, like I said, the Oilers had a tougher role to get here. What? Water bottle?
Are better than hoses. Continue, Dan.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I agree with that. I'm not saying dire situation, right? But anyway, like, I think Edmonton got a tougher role to get here. I think Edmonton dealt with more diversity through the year. I mean, we were down 2-0 against Las Vegas in the first round. And a lot of people are saying Las Vegas was going to sweep them.
Yep.
Skinner's been up and down like crazy.
Skinner.
A lot of injuries. I mean, we were talking before trade deadline of possibly Edmonton missing the playoffs because they were third in the division. Like, Edmonton has dealt with a lot, and yet here they are. So I think if any team could do it, come back after a 6-1 loss like that, I think it's Edmonton. I'm sticking on my guns saying Edmonton's going to win this game. It's not going to be an easy game. It's not going to be a pretty game, but they're going to win it.
I can see your points there, Mr. Moore. Mr. Chazzy, who are you taking in this one?
Solid as a ship's anchor on the Edmonton Oilers.
We're still
not much more to say, Oilers.
So do I make boring TV or do I make interesting TV? That's the $1 million question here. I originally said the Florida Panthers when we recorded that around 1 a.m. I am.
Is this the Jeopardy? Do you get 30 seconds?
Okay. Call me Dan when he's trying to pick which suit he's wearing because I'm flopping here.
Wow.
I think with the line changes Edmonton has made, I think they'll tie this series up.
Okay, what line changed your mind the most?
Funny enough, Troy Stetcher.
Wow.
I think putting Nurse with Klingberg was a disaster because both of them are defensive liabilities. Troy Stetcher is not a defensive liability, which will allow Darnell Nurse to be able to move. And I think that could open up the ice. I also think that taking Corey Perry off the top line, because I don't think Corey Perry can play 20-plus minutes anymore.
No, he's 40 years old.
I think those changes for me are going to be the difference maker, and I think this Edmonton team is just too good to go down 3-1.
Yeah, 100%.
The good thing is, I said either team's going to win, so what I can just, since I edit the show, if you want to say, Jacob, you were wrong, I can just grab the clip and say, no, I'm right. So
you
we're good.
deserve the circus book. Wow.
But before we go, because puck drops in 4 minutes, I do want to quickly say we also have a big game in the CFL tonight between the BC Lions and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And just for people who didn't know, this is also in the Streakers app, right? So you can always play along in the Streakers app. Challenge someone to a rivalry. Someone's been challenging Mr. Moore for your money a lot because he's down to just over a 500% winning percentage.
Wow, in CFL?
You're struggling a little bit more for. You got to get going. But I'm calling you out, bub. But who are you guys taking in that one tonight? It's a big game between BC and Winnipeg. So let's quickly, before we got to go, who are we taking?
I sent you a rivalry, you guys, this morning, and I'm going with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers without Zach Collaros. I think, yeah. That's why I'm under 500. Right? I like having the balls, the big CFL. I got the big CFL balls, Canadian way, bro. Yeah, I really think that Winnipeg's really upset about the whole Zach Collaros suspension for not answering a telephone. And
it's a legitimate suspension. It's a legitimate suspension. You know, at that time of year, there's mandatory drug tests you have to take. And if they said, oh, that's okay, take it in 2 weeks, all someone has to do is just find some clean urine and then they're good to go. It's the integrity of the league.
You say what you want, but the point is Winnipeg is going to be fired up because of that.
If anything, I give the CFL more credit that one of their faces of the league, they're making them face the same consequence as someone who's not.
Well, that's a good point, too.
Rules are rules.
But I don't know. I just got a feeling Winnipeg's hosting the Grey Cup this year. There's a lot of people doubting Winnipeg as a dynasty. I think they got a lot of people they want to set up. I think the fans want to make a statement. I think Winnipeg's going to win with the victory to start off the year. So that the bye week last week. Sometime pick a bye, but you know.
Okay, I am going the complete opposite. And oh, mind you, there's a bye in the first week because there's 9 teams. It's just simple math. But I am going with the BC Lions because I think Nathan Rourke will have less of an impactful game this game, but I actually don't think he's going to need to put up as many points because Strevler's not a quarterback that's going to move the ball downfield very much. So I am taking the BC Lions over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Mr. Chazzy, you are the tiebreaker here.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Lions.
Whoa.
Chazzy. You know what they say, if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. My fingers are empty. I'm available. I'm a cheap date. Dan's even cheaper. You just got to take him to Taco Bell for Taco Tuesday, and
$20 is $20.
Anyways, thank you very much for watching the Streakers Island Podcast pregame show. We will be back for a post-game show. Chazzy might be hitting balls into the outfield, but some of us will be here. Lane Dashing Dashco will be back. I will find him. I don't care where he is.
We got the late game under the lights.
I will hunt him down and drag him into stream. I mean, he's probably in the back end of StreamYard waiting for the next
He's
show.
on the move still.
Yeah. He's walking around in his sweater.
Otherwise, this
coming
is
in
going to
the
be a
back
strange
end of that
speaker
building.
logo.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'm the
Enjoy the game, everybody.
Analyst. We're joined by
Let's go
Chazzy,
Oilers.
with capital E and CEO. Update 5.999. Remember, guys, update 6.0 is an exciting time in Chazzy land. Not just for the man, the myth, the legend, but also for the app that destroys all apps. And, of course, we can't forget the man who is also clean shaved. Look at us. Dan and I both shaved our playoff beards today. And I did this, by the way, because Connor McDavid touched the conference-winning trophy thingamajig. So I think he's looking for change. So am I. Shave the beard. But, of course, we were also joined by Mr. More for your money. Woo! And until the postgame, hasta la vista, do the conga, the Edmonton Oilers need to win right now, or we're just going to all have to cry. Bye.